What's up, everybody? This is Christian Conservative. Whoop. Oh, hello. Okay. What's up, everybody? This is Christian Conservative. We have. I'm hearing the feedback. Okay, we're good now. All right, let's start over again. This is Christian Conservative, your trusted source for bold, unfiltered news and analysis on the issues that matter most to Christian conservatives. From faith and family to politics and culture, we tackle the hard truths and stand firm on biblical principles. I'm KJ, along with Michelle Talkington. How are you doing tonight, Michelle?
Hey, I'm doing great. Happy to be here. Excited to get right in on this news, which is, again, another day of crazy things happening.
Yes, indeed. It seems like the last month or so, when we go live, it's generally like some crazy news that's either right before we come on or happens during our broadcast. And so this is another one of those days. Before we get started, folks, as you all come in, please hit that like button, and subscribe if you haven't subscribed yet, but certainly hit that like button. It helps to get this broadcast out in front of as many people as possible. And that's what we aim to do here on Christian Conservative. All right. So we have a major night of news for you this evening. What we're going to start out with is what happened last night. What started as a peaceful evening in our nation's capital turned into a bloody nightmare. On last night, just steps away from the halls of power, 2 young Israeli embassy staffers were brutally unalived. We're saying unalived here. After attending an event at the Capitol Jewish Museum. The alleged killer, a man named Elias, seen wearing a how do you pronounce that? Kaffa, the things they wear. I forget. Yeah, but he had that on, yelling "Free Palestine" as he carried out the attack. Witnesses on the scene were stunned as the suspect was taken into custody. And by Thursday afternoon, he was hit with 5 serious charges. So today, including first-degree murder. So this is a clip of what they are. This is a clip of them arresting him. This is clip 1.
Die. No. Free Palestine! Free Palestine! Free Palestine!
Wow. All right. So as you can see, he's yelling those same chants that we've heard on college campuses, at protests, BLM protests, these social justice protests. We've heard them all over the place. So the people that were unalived by him are Yaron Lechensky. He was a Christian Israeli, and Sarah Milgram, his fiance, was an American Jew. Lechensky worked in the political department of the Israeli embassy in Washington, had been a passionate advocate for peace through deterrence and moral clarity. President Trump has come out and commented on this. He said the killings rooted in anti-Semitism must end now. Hatred and radicalism have no place in the USA, he said. So joining us tonight, we are, have a treat here. We have joining us tonight a gentleman. He is one of the Metro Conservative Media's family. Works with us. You guys probably know him. He's actually one of the smartest people I know, and he's one of the most brilliant Jewish persons that I know. Gimpy, and he's going to join us tonight. How are you tonight, Gimpy?
I'm good, ladies. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. We wanted you to break down what happened, react to what happened. Before we get your input, want to go through this CNN interview. So just to break down what this is about, a former Columbia University student is being interviewed by CNN as to what he witnessed and how what he saw in the shooter's eyes was no different from what he saw in the eyes of Columbia University pro-Hamas terrorist supporters. But rather than confront that uncomfortable truth, this CNN host jumped in to protect the narrative. Take a look here. This is clip A.
As you go forward, with what you have seen, can you give us any sense, because you said you looked the shooter in the eyes, can you give us any sense of what you saw in him as he was sort of getting help and people were tending to him as if he too was a victim of seeing this?
Yeah, well, to be clear, I heard about that part because we were in a secure room when he initially walked in. I just saw him screaming and then being handcuffed. But what I saw in his eyes, I mean, I went to Columbia for grad school and I saw the same thing in his eyes as I saw in the eyes of all the protesters at Columbia. Nothing different between him and them.
But they did not create this horrific shooting. They did not, they didn't shoot.
They gave permission. They gave the permission. And they've called for this. They have called for Intifada revolution, which is the same thing he yelled last night.
Do you worry that there will be a conflation, though, of the two, those people who are speaking their mind, who really care about what is happening in Gaza, and those people who are like this person who did this horrific shooting, who intend to do harm?
A conflation. I mean, they are calling for Intifada. At Columbia University, they call for Intifada constantly. They're not quietly, they're loud. They're loud. You can hear it. They make recordings of themselves. So what's the difference?
Are you afraid?
Yes.
What will
We're
you do
all
about
afraid.
that?
Everyone should be afraid.
What are you doing to try to make yourself feel safer?
Well, okay, just go on and live your life. I'm a New Yorker. I remember 9/11. You can't let them make you be afraid. You have to go on. You have to live your life, and hopefully your government does things to protect you. Last night, our government failed us.
Jonathan Epstein, I know that they are going forward with this. There is expected to be charges in this case. We will see what happens, but I know you'll be watching, and we'll talk to you again as this goes forward. Thank you so much, and I'm sorry that you had to witness what you did. Kate?
Wow. So cold. I want to get your thoughts on this, Gimpy. I mean, she said, should we first she started talking about, she jumped in to say the students didn't create the shooter. And then she starts legitimizing these terrorist narratives, asking what is, do they really cared about what is happening in Gaza? Should everyone be afraid? What's your reaction to what that interview and the questions and that she asked and the statements she made?
Yeah.
So hot take, that interview for me is like, I understand what my brother of the tribe is trying to say to everybody, but as always, as they call it, hasbara is not good. We lose the PR war, especially lately. This is not a well presentation of it. Yes, they create the environment, of course, the protesters, but to say they have the same look in their eye as a deranged killer loses you all the people in the middle. They're not going to see it. Like immediately they say you're painting with a broad brush, whatever. Yes, these guys in the universities, Columbia, all over, they create the environment that breeds people to believe that this is okay. Are they directly responsible? You want to argue, are the gun manufacturers directly responsible for every illegal gun type thing? Like, I'm not giving them a pass in any way. They have their own problems that I have a difficulty with. But what he's specifically saying, that like making that connection like that, that's where we lose the PR battle in this argument. Because yeah, it's a horrible thing, but don't blame protesters. Focus on that this one guy did a horrible thing and then talk about the environment that created it. Don't try and animalize another group just because it might fit your narrative. And by doing that, it helps us lose the PR war, because it makes us look like we're just trying to lump everybody together with killers. But again, this guy did something awful, and this is how I have close family that live in places that have gone from being anti-gun to very pro-gun. I want to get my concealed carry permit because they have to deal with places that they no longer feel safe anymore. So I'm not in disagreement with him. It's the nuances of it. We have to be careful when we make these discussions, because there are so many people looking to pick apart every word, every syllable that we say. You have to be more careful in drawing broad strokes. You have to be very clear when you're talking about one group versus an individual acting, because people aren't going to be quick to say this is the same. I mean,
so let me ask you this though. Let me ask you this, because what he basically was saying is, how this leftist ideology can be linked to the violence that we're seeing. And we have an image here, image 2. This same guy has been at multiple social justice protests. Do we have that image, production? He's shown at BLM protests. He's shown at the pro-Palestinian protests. Yeah, there it is. Yes, that's him right there. They have a social media linking him, and according to the FBI, post where he said, "I, as an individual, cannot stop this violence to the people of Palestine, but I can at least help the little boy who made a difference to me. I urge others to help as much as possible. No child should experience such horrible things. Free Palestine." So he's really involved in this movement. He's part of a nonprofit. If we have that, it's image 4. In this nonprofit that we've found him as part of. Again, one of these leftist NGOs. He's some type of oral history researcher at the History Makers, where he prepares detailed research outlines and biographies of accomplished leaders in the African American community. So again, this kind of social justice, this is sort of like their makeup. How can we not connect the two?
No, it's I think you're misunderstanding what I'm trying to say here. I am not saying they're disconnected. In fact, I'm saying one breeds the other. But in order to not see in these moments of terrible, horrible, like awful things that happen, we have these knee-jerk reactions, and in it we want to use broad strokes to lump people together because they're all part of a larger problem at hand. But when we do that, because Jews have so many enemies in every direction, they take it apart, they dissect it, they turn it against you because you're targeting people and saying they're killers because this person is a killer. And that doesn't work. Like, you lose today it worked. In the first day after, when everyone's emotional, fine. In a week from now, they're going to be challenging it. And we have to be smarter than that because they're coming for us. It's clear. You said something earlier. This guy had no idea that one person was Christian and one person was Jewish and one person was Israeli and one person was American. They were targeting Jews at a Jewish function outside of a Jewish museum. The message was to kill Jews and free Palestine. That's the connection to what goes on campus. They're taught that on the universities. That's where they're giving this information to run wild and free and do these awful things in the free world. That's the actual connection. If they learn it there, that's where they get the idea. This enacting of it, that's winding up the toy and letting it loose on the world, man. What do you expect? And Jews, man, like anybody who's shocked, that's on them. This has been built.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
I want to get you in on this, Michelle. What were you about to say? Mm-hmm.
so I'm hearing it's what Gimpy is going. It's the comment about the eyes. It's looking into the eyes of an actual killer at the time, and then making them the same as the eyes of what I see is a lot of ignorant, foolish American students. And I'm not talking about the ones that are really heavily organizing, and I'm talking about the idiots that just join along, and they're saying and chanting the exact same thing. So I think the argument, one, I hope that this man is thrown away, and he's, I mean, for life, and he's got to be careful now because the federal government has opened up the doors now again in prosecuting and asking for the death penalty. So, and I'm sure he's probably already been made aware of that. This is serious. But in that argument, yeah, we have to connect them by saying, you're right, it's the breeding ground. The last administration allowed this to happen. These chants to go on for so long, the protest and the words within it to expand to such an extent, there were no consequences. And so what happens when you have 4 years, 5 years of zero consequences? Somebody's going to take the next step and say, well, it's probably not a consequence for me if I do this. It's probably not a consequence if I do this. And look what they did with Mangione. For goodness sake, they made him out to be a hero.
Right.
And this this is insanity. And so
Right.
they make the villain to be a victim, and that has to stop. What happened today should have never happened. And I'm sorry to say, I'm not shocked. I'm not surprised. I'm angry.
Mhm.
I'm angry. But I know that this administration, the ones in charge right now, this gave even more of an example of why you have to shut it down. And we're not talking about freedom of speech. We're just talking about you cannot scream out from the river to the sea. You cannot scream these things out and think it doesn't mean anything. It means something. We know what it means. And if you don't and you're shouting it, well, then when you go to jail or something happens and you're in the wrong group, that's you need to do your research. And you're a college student. You know how to research.
Yeah, I want to ask you, Gimpy, what do you think happens next? So right now, it is a very contentious environment, particularly, I believe, for the Jewish community. And so we have people on the right now that are, they are connecting or saying that Jews are responsible for many of the things in Hollywood. I mean, Candace Owens is a huge speaker of that. She has been going out against America's connection and ally with Israel, and their input into American politics and so on and so forth. It's from the right and from the left. We've seen an uptick in violence against the Jewish community. Where do you think this goes from now? And from now, that's what I'll start with. What do you think happens? What do you think is going to happen going forward?
You make me think of my grandmother in this moment, honestly, KJ. My grandma, I was raised religious amongst the Orthodox, and my grandmother every year on Holocaust Remembrance Day on Yom HaShoah, she would always say something like, don't forget, never forget, right? And she would tell you that don't think that it's any different any generation. We lived next door to these people for 25, 30 years. They were our friends. They were our neighbors. And the next day they're sending us to camps, right? Like, never forget. Don't let that be a message. And then if you're raised amongst the religious, I mean, everybody in the non-Jewish world likes to think they know what the religious teach their own. But dude, they teach us about all this. All the claims that are made by all these different influencers are not new. They're the same claims about Jews that have been made for 1,000 years, 2,000 years that come before it. They drink the blood of this. They behave like that. We're lucky that it isn't 200 years ago, where a comment like some of the stuff that have been going on the internet right now, like 14,000 Palestinian children will die in the next 48 hours. They've been saying for over a week now. And where is it? The only people who died are 2 Jews were murdered as a result of this. Oh, well, a Jew and a Christian were, unalived as a result of this. This war has ongoing. It's forever. It's a perpetual thing. And the problem is you have today that everyone gets a voice. So every uneducated, every person who wants to have a alternative history where they leave out things like October 7th, Israel is terrible, it's horrible, why is it blowing up Gaza? As if it happened in a vacuum. There's no October 7th. Release the hostages, surrender, it ends tomorrow. This isn't a hard equation, but yet here we are having this conversation about where does it go from here? You tell me. It's been 2 years, we're going on 3 now. And you're watching Jews be villainized all across the globe by other Jews even. Where does it go from here, KJ? That's the biggest question. And how many people have to suffer along the way before we figure it out?
Yeah, absolutely. Are you afraid? I
mean, you know me, I'm not right in the head, right? Like I hang out on CT's panel all day. I'm definitely not right in the head. I'm a Second Amendment. Of course, there's a fear of whatever, but I don't live like an outstanding life. I don't stand out as a Jew other than my persona on the internet, but.
Well, should Jews be afraid?
Yeah, of course. 100%. Like, of all the things that have gone wrong, there was never a time they were killing Jews in the streets of America for being Jews. Like, that's a new thing. I remember the Crown Heights riots. I lived in New York as a kid back then. I remember that stuff. This is new. This is a whole new level of what their willingness. And you talk about like now it's on the right. on the left, it was always there. It's socially acceptable to be wide open and in public because everyone's entitled to say whatever they want because it's the free internet. There's no limitation. And again, that's freedom of speech. I'm not declaring censorship. I'm just saying, like, this is just exposing what already exists.
Yeah. What would you say is one of the most incorrect but perpetuated sayings, or I guess stereotypes about Jews on the right? Something that you hear many of them say about the Jewish community, but it's not correct.
That we run the world. It's my favorite one is like, I saw this meme where it shows all the people in power, and it's a group of like whatever characters, and a few of them are labeled like Jewish, and then it shows the people coming after the Jews and removing the Jews from power, and then you still have all those other people who overwhelmingly are still in power doing the exact same stuff. It's like, it's a distraction. Yes, there are Jews in power who are terrible. There are also Catholics and Muslims and Hindus, and it's a universal thing. Greed and power breed awful. I'm sorry. Everyone's susceptible to it. If you want to start picking one group from the other, that's why everybody's arguing and pointing. We live in that perpetual Spider-Man meme, pointing at each other.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that is something that's said a lot, that Jews are in power, and people make broad statements about these Jews in power, saying that many are, into pedophilia, running Hollywood. Mm-hmm. Go ahead. Mm-hmm.
No, I'm just saying, I'm making jokes. Be careful what you say next. Somehow I'm going to organize a beeper and a death laser from space. And you're in all sorts of trouble. Just be very careful. Learn the lesson, everybody. I mean, it's absurd. What is some poor guy who's trying to feed his family? Like, dude, there are Jews who live on welfare. You're telling me that they're controlling the world? I mean, really, how? Because I want to know. I want in on it because they didn't give me my button for the space laser this year. I'm just...
Yeah. I agree. I agree there. But again, like you mentioned, many of these comments that are made by people, they take off on a mind of their own. Again, people say that the Jews rule the world, that they're involved in Hollywood. Just all of the stuff that's being made about this with Bieber and Diddy and the hip hop community.
There were definitely Jews involved in all sorts of things. There are Jews involved in everything. Like, we are overrepresented. Our punishment is that we overachieve in everything we do. So when we're bad, we overachieve in that shit too. What do you want? Like, would we rather us not overachieve? Is that what you want? Do you want us not to defend ourselves? Do you want us to just roll over and die so everyone else can feel better? Just say it. Like, at least be honest about it. If that's what people want, tell the truth. Like, that's where I stand on this. Is like, if you just don't like Jews, just say it. This is free speech, whatever. I don't have to support your right to hate. And I hate that they try and censor everything as anti-Semitism. Now, nothing is anti-Semitism. So when two people roll up and get unalive like this, it's like somehow an argument instead of a horrific act across the board. And everyone is, instead of just being condemned, now we're having this fucking we're having this discussion. I'm sorry, it's the New York thing. But we're having this discussion. It shouldn't be a discussion. We should all just be looking down on this guy. But there's a give, send, go.
Yeah.
Well, we've seen that on a lot of different situations. I want to ask you, Michelle, how can Christians respond to this rising anti-Semitism in both culture and in society and on a whole? What do you think?
And that's where I was going, just as I was listening to Gimpy. All I can think of is this has been happening to the Jewish people. Anti-Semitism has been around for over 3,000 years. So let's just be honest. This is a forever fight. And you say, when does it end? And I, for me as a Christian, I say when Christ returns. But when does it end? I don't know, because racism is always going to be there. But when do we start calling it out immediately? And that's what makes me so angry. Again, in the last 4 years, I'm like, guys, we're watching this unfold all over again. They want to talk about and people raising their hands and Elon Musk. Oh, that was the Heil Hitler symbol. This is right here. This is what's happening before our very eyes. And all I could think of was a little kid's song. Read your Bible, pray every day, and you'll grow. get back to the basics. We have to understand history. And I'm so angry at other nations when we created an entire organization that was meant to stand up and fight this, and here they are being silent. Again, with the exception of a few, and President Trump is one of them. I take him at his word. He will fight this. But we have to start saying, this is enough. It's us. We see all these protests, but where are the other groups? Where are the Christian brothers and sisters, or just regular folk? You don't have to be Christian to stand up and say, this is wrong. This is vile. This is evil. This is disgusting. There is a murderer on the loose, and several that are being raised up because we have these institutions that are now training up an entire, it's kind of like their own forces. And we just sat back and we watched it. We watched indoctrination from elementary school all the way through the colleges. And the colleges are not only breeding it, they're importing it from international students. It's got to end. And that's how Christians pray, stand up, defend your brothers and sisters.
Yeah.
I know I do.
We have some super chats here, folks. Thank you all so much. All right, let's see here. Wendy with the $5 super sticker. Really appreciate you, Wendy. Thank you so much. Wendy had another great question for Gimpy. What does she say here? Okay. She says, Gimpy, why do a lot of Catholics seem to have strong feelings about Jewish folk? And I see that too. Why is that?
I say it comically, because Jesus.
Say whatever you want to say, Gimpy.
Where Jesus was a Jew, like we're intrinsically tied together. Our fates are tied together. It regardless of whether we want it to be that way or not, it is. It is, and we all.
We do find Catholics though have a very antagonistic, or I won't say all, but
I mean, but at the same tokens, you do understand the Catholic Church owns the land that the Knesset in Israel sits on, the parliamentary building. Most public buildings that are run by the Israeli government, the land under it is owned by the Catholic Church. It's a very tricky thing to say that, like I said, Jews and Christians are intrinsically tied together because Jesus was a Jew. Despite the rebranding of the Palestinian narrative of the moron brigade walking through the earth. But I'm sorry, like people have to recognize the reality. There's reasons the mechanics of the universe work the way they are. The great God, the one true God wants us all to recognize some of the evident truths he puts in front of us. He gives us path and guidance and expects us to live up to that standard. And even if we are sinners, still have to try and achieve from imperfection to grace. I mean, that's the importance, right? So for me, the reason why Christians and Jews, Catholics, whatever you want to say, are intrinsically tied is because we are one people in a weird way, whether we want to admit it or not. It might be a hot take, but we believe in the same God. We believe in the same rules. We have different ways you want to play it out, how you want to evolve it, whatever. But when it comes down to it, if you had to pick, who do you want to live next door to? Someone who's like you or someone who's not? That's
right. Yeah. I have a super chat here, folks. Thank you so much. We really appreciate you. Kung Fu CJ with the $10 super chat says, Lord told Abram in Genesis 12:3, I will bless those who bless you and curse those who curse you. I will curse. All right. Absolutely. Yes, indeed. Thank you so much, folks. As you all come in, please hit that like button. It really helps to broadcast, get this video out to as many people as possible. And that's our aim here. So thank you so much. Now, I know I asked you, Michelle, what should Christians do to combat anti-Semitism? I want to ask you, Gimpy, the same thing. What should the Jewish community do? Are they doing enough? How should they respond to these acts here in America?
You need to figure out the question that would get me in trouble tonight. You did. I knew eventually you'd ask me one that I'm going to have a hard time at.
Say what's on your mind.
Okay, so we've had these conversations, and now I'm going to get in trouble because it's going to be on air. But I'm a fundamentalist. I come from ultra religious Jews. I myself might not be necessarily observant, but everybody who knows me, including you, will say I'm more in tune, I sound like a religious Jew, because I was raised by my family's that I believe in. It's not like I rebelled or anything. I'm just a lazy sinner, if we're being honest, right? So there was a guy named Rabbi Meir Kahana, right? They unalived him in the 90s. He created the JDL, the Jewish Defense League. He started a party in Israel, the Koch Party. He started a paramilitary group, the Kahane. I mean, you want to know what Jews should do? There should be more kahana, less talking about it. That's my take on it. So everybody should be there should be a rise of a new, Ben Gvir, the defense minister from Israel who was here. Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's a disciple of kahana.
Ah, okay. And so for those who may not understand kahana, what do you mean? What does that look like?
His name is Rabbi Meir Kahana. Rabbi Meir Kahana, he had a very specific ideology of how Jews should understand what Israel is. It's a theocratical. I mean, again, I'm not religious, so it sounds hypocritical from a guy like me, but he's a theocrat. What's the right way? A theocrat, I guess. Mm-hmm. He believed in a Jewish state based on Jewish law, not on secular law. Again, but it's more his political views that Arabs can be there, but they're not the same, right? It's a Jewish state for Jews only, and everyone else can live there peacefully, but the Jews are in charge and it's our way, and that's it. And it's that simple. There are no occupied territories. It's all ours. It's very simple. They can be there or they can leave, and if they don't want to leave, we'll remove you, right? Like, that was his mentality, and he was unalived for it because he was growing in popularity. Just know now the current defense minister was someone who recognizes him. You can see his picture on his shelf in his house whenever he does photo ops. And the Jewish people as a whole, if you look at the internet, demonstrate more of a leaning towards that, because you keep kicking people around and telling them they're not allowed to defend themselves. They're going to become fundamentalists. It's how it happens in general. And you can blame Israel and whatever you want for whatever you say in Israel. I'm not going to try and convince anybody of what side is right or wrong. I'm already on a side by designation. I don't care what everyone else thinks, but I'm sorry. Everybody has to recognize what's going on. And if Jews don't take care of Israel and Jews themselves as a whole and stop fighting amongst themselves and unify through Jewish things and believing in Judaism and practicing Judaism, we're never going to get past this moment in time. The most important thing Jews can do ultimately is be Jews properly.
Yeah.
So you're saying go back to Torah.
Like I said, I'm a bad example. I'm a hypocrite. I am.
No, stop saying that.
No, it is, because I'm not observing. Yeah. Like, I'm honest. Like, I don't want anyone to sit here and undermine me for saying I'm dishonest. But the truth is, if Jews want to overcome this, be goddamn Jews the way God intended us. Simply put, that's it.
We keep coming to condemn nationalism and nationalists, and that's basically what Gimpy is saying and what they were, and even what Trump is saying and what conservatives are kind of saying. We're going back to, this is America, and that's what it's the same thing. Look, you don't like being here, you don't want to follow the American rules, goodbye. You can leave. You can go back to where you are, because this is America. And we have to stop babying everybody and thinking that everybody's feelings matter, and we have to hold them to the highest level and respect them in every sense of the term. No, you've got free speech. Be happy that you have that. That doesn't mean we have to change our rules to accommodate everybody. That's got to end. And you're right. You've got an excellent point, and there's nothing wrong. And other nations do that. And look, we can see, and really you want to talk about the fall of Rome and other places, when you start letting other nations' ideology come in and infiltrate yours, and you bow down and you cater and you kumbaya and everything is great and respect everyone, this communist notion, it falls apart. It literally falls. It ceases to be the nation that you created or that you have been in for generations. And I'm talking historically. I'm talking like thousands of years ago to right now, which is why I push so hard. Just like Gimpy is saying, to be, this is America. It shouldn't be a hard thing to say. The Jewish nation, that's the Jewish state. That's Israel is Israel. That's it. Yeah. We shouldn't be encouraging them and forcing them over here in the United States. Say, oh, you need to compromise on X, Y, and Z. Why? So we can feel better? Who's going to protect them there? And I apply that to any nation.
Absolutely. But I'm going to take it even a little step further, because I like what Gimpy said. And I think it applies not only to the Jewish community, but Christians also. Mm-hmm. Deuteronomy 28, 1-2. We need to go back to God. If you fully obey the Lord your God and carefully follow all his commands, the Lord your God will set you high above all the nations. All these blessings will come on you and accompany you if you obey the Lord. However, if you do not obey the Lord your God and do not carefully follow all his commands, all these curses will come on you and overtake you. And that's to us all. I mean, we got to go back, not just the Jewish community, going back to Torah, going back to what God commanded us to be, because that's where our strength comes from.
Mhm.
That's where our true strength comes from, going back and following his commands for our lives. But now many of us are under a curse. I hate to say it. We are not following God's law, and no one is perfect. We all sin. But we know what's right, and we got to go back to it. And it's just as simple as that. So I take it like that. I look at it like that is what you're saying. I know you're talking specifically to the Jewish community, but I take it a step further to all people, Bible believers. We must turn away from sin and go back to God. So yeah, I want to take a turn a little bit and go into this next clip by Ben Shapiro. I mean, folks, get your popcorn out, because don't we love to see when conservatives torch these leftist nuts? And this is exactly what Ben Shapiro did in this next clip. And I want to get your thoughts on this, Gimpy, this exchange. This is clip 4. This girl pops up like a pimple all over the internet, arguing with conservatives. I mean, she's like a blackhead that I just want to pop and get rid of her forever. Somebody needs to take some type of clear cell or whatever and get rid of this blackhead woman. I can't stand her. But I want to go back to something she said. I want to start off with you, Gimpy. Well, not what she said, but what Ben Shapiro said. He said sometimes Jews are grouped with white and sometimes they're not. Can you explain that a little further?
Jews are not white.
Okay.
I mean, like, you want to understand this myth around why Jews are white, because you have to pick a box. And if you're going to pick a box that you can fit in, the one that gets you the most leverage to hide your group, you're going to pick, right? So since we're white adjacent, we can pick white. I'm not arguing that it isn't, but it's a survival mechanism. It's not we're identifying here because we see ourselves as the Aryan Brotherhood. I'm sorry. No, we picked this because it gives us the least resistance. I'm old enough to remember my grandfather talking about how every Saturday he lost his job because there was no protections for people who took off work on Saturday when they were Jewish. You only had Sunday off in this country because that was the Christian day off. So this country is not what everyone keeps cracking it up to be about how Jews lived here and dominated everything. It's the same way they blame us for being bankers. You made us bankers, right?
What do you mean by you made us bankers?
Dude, Jews weren't allowed to have any other jobs but being bankers and tax collectors in the Roman Empire. That's why we became in the financial industry. They gave us the jobs that would make you hate the government, so you just hated Jews instead. Like, that was the Roman play on exiling Jews from Israel after the Second Holy Temple. For all the Christians out there, like, that's how Jews end up in Europe, people. It's not a conspiracy of a nation of converts. It's literally the Romans pick us up and move us and make us their civil servants. It's well documented. And this is the universe we live in. So yeah, no, that I'll land there.
All right. Yeah. Michelle, what do you think about what she said about this representation? How, she believes that, with representation of your races or in gender, he got her there when she was talking about representation of gender, but you have empathy and you need to legislate based on your identity. What do you think about that? These DEI initiatives?
I intentionally do not like to think about her. What a foolish person. And to think that we have to contend with so many of these minions, like walking the earth and having the audacity to influence our children. Again, y'all, I homeschool, and she is another reason why I homeschool and why my kids can go anywhere they want to college, but trust and believe certain colleges I'm not paying for, I'm not helping, it's not happening. This is the result. She is foolish. And I love Evie. Hey there. And she put out there, she loved that Ben Shapiro said ethnicity, not race. And I get so angry with that. They're always talking about race. And I'm like, there is one race. It's a human race. It's bigotry that we want to talk about, but it doesn't sound as good as calling somebody racist. Right? We throw that out. And she scrambled. I mean, Ben is a genius. We know that. But she can't make up her mind. The only purpose she has is to attempt to win an argument and sound intellectual with having no factual basis. It's not about being represented as a woman. It's being represented as again, category by category. And she just wants a win that she's never going to get with Ben Shapiro or anybody with even common sense. So there's not even, I don't even take her with a grain of salt. Y'all, she gets no salt given. I don't give anything because that's nonsense. They will never be happy. There's an entire generation that will always have to be a victim or she's going to have to be represented. Even if she were represented, she's going to be angry with that. Because what if that person that represents her is someone like you or I, KJ? But every single thing, every other dot and cross she wanted her I's and T's, we completed. So this is arguing for the sake of arguing. They are hateful for the sake of being hateful. This shouldn't be happening in 2025, but it is. They've been indoctrinated. Stand up and just tell them to stop. Thank you, Ben Shapiro, everyone else.
Absolutely. We have a super chatter here. All right. I thought we had another. Yes. Kung Fu CJ says, teach Gimpy. Yes, indeed. Thank you so much, Kung Fu CJ. Yeah, I totally agree with both of what you said. Kung Fu CJ with the $5 super chat says, I don't know if you know, but where did the tribe of Dan go? Oh, Gimpy, is this for you?
I'm not. You'd have to ask my brother, the rabbi.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know. Okay. All right. Thank you so much, Kung Fu CJ.
Little known secret, right, KJ? My brother is a world renowned.
Yes, he is. Yeah. And you talk about him often. I mean, guys, for you guys who don't know, Gimpy is the best person to talk to about Torah, about Bible. I mean, he gives some really good information. You could talk to him for hours, literally, about this stuff. So do not let him fool you. But again, as I want to say, these people they're liars. I'm talking about this lady, this pimple. I'm calling her a human pimple. She is false. You know, this woman is dating a white guy. I think she may be even married to him. He is a white guy. This pimple, this human pimple, goes on the internet, on social media, and all she does is push DEI. All she does is push all this, black against white, men against women, this gender ideology. And she's dating a white guy.
Yeah, but a lot of those blackety, smarty-arty folk, to quote CT, because I like that phrase, are always dating white folk.
Yeah, like, AOC. I mean, there's so many we can.
There's so many. It's mind blowing how it's like they're in the streets. They're black power. At home, it's not that. That's for sure.
Right. And like you mentioned, in the streets is black power. At home, they're being colonized, as they say. Colonized.
Ooh, I like that.
It's really weird. It's very weird. Well, you know what? I'm not even going to say it's weird because they're doing this by design. They know what they're saying is lies. They know that they're saying this stuff. It doesn't make sense. They're trying to create race wars. They're trying to create division. This is all part of the Marxist plan. And what they're doing is they're preying on low-level thinkers, on people who are going to be driven by emotion, and to drive them to the polls to vote Democrat or do whatever else they want them to do. This is what it is. But this woman is dating a white guy, and she continues to push division, and they're oppressors and we are being oppressed. We are victims. she's dating a white guy. I couldn't believe it. I could not believe it.
I can. And they'll be the first to say something about me. Y'all, I've been married to a white man. This year will be 20 years.
That's true. That's
if you look
true.
at my children, I have 2 redheaded children with blue eyes, 2 blondes with blue eyes, and then 2 kids that came out, thank the Lord, that had a tan. They weren't allergic to the sun. They will call out conservatives and anybody. And you're right. Again, this goes back to wanting to play victim,
Right.
while at home they're playing something completely other than the victim.
You're right.
Yeah. They're just kinky, KJ. They're just all very kinky people.
It makes me sick though, because they continue to peddle this crap to people who actually start to believe it. Now, I don't have any issue with interracial dating and all that kind of stuff. I think, as long as you're Christian and you believe, you're God-fearing, whatever, we're good. But it's just like, why are you pushing this and you're going home to a white man? It makes no sense to me until it really does. They're pushing a grift is what it is.
Yes.
So, folks, we will continue to talk about this. I know Gimpy has to go. I want to thank you so much for coming on, Gimpy, and talking with us about, what's going on and this whole this terrible murder yesterday. Any final thoughts for the audience, Gimpy, before you go?
Kahana was right. That's it. Sorry, you know me a long time. I'm not. Kahana was right. Thank you for having me tonight.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you for joining us. Folks, don't go anywhere. We are not done with these leftists. I have some other clips here I want to go through, just talking about how these leftists are actually, it's these clips that we're going to talk about are leftists getting their lunch eaten. Is it eaten or eaten? Yeah.
Yes, it's yes. They
yes.
They have been served, and we're going to watch them be served by people who know their game.
Yes, indeed. So I want you guys to take a look. This is this girl again on here. She's so annoying, but it's actually satisfying to see her get talked to and corrected. So here she is in this clip. This is clip 7, I believe. No. I'm sorry.
Because we killed millions of people and caused significant amounts of suffering.
Actually,
it was human suffering.
Actually, most of what killed Native Americans was not genocide; it was disease.
The Trail of Tears killed millions of people.
Okay, the Trail of Tears didn't kill millions of people.
Yes, it did.
How many millions do you think died in the Trail of Tears?
Let's Google it.
Google it.
All right.
How many millions died at the Trail of Tears?
It says an estimated 4,000 out of 16,000 Cherokee people, forced to relocate. Let me see deaths.
How many millions?
It says estimate that 6,000 men, women, and children die on the 1,200-mile march called the Trail of Tears, Cherokee.
Okay.
So is 6,000 anywhere close to millions?
So let's just look
and
at
millions.
This girl, they're idiots, Michelle. They're idiots. And she was trying again to say white people are evil and they've done so many evil things, and she's trying to demonize white people, and she's giving facts that aren't even real. What are your thoughts on that exchange?
It's Common Core math, KJ. It's Common Core math. Can we just blame education on this?
Right.
I don't even know where they get these talking points. They listen, it's from clown to clown and fool to fool, and they just pass it on. It's like they get into, again, it's their little pockets. They get in these friend groups and they're watching these podcasters, uneducated, uninformed, or they're watching the media, which is intentionally misinforming them to believe this history that just doesn't exist. Millions? How are you going to miss this by hundreds of thousands of people? Did you just skip the history lesson, or you just chose to blatantly ignore it, talk about it like you know something? She's just, again, I will never think of a blackhead the same way. KJ, from now on, when I think of blackheads, I'm going to think of this person. And what's sad is, she wants to change the subject so quick.
Yeah.
Well, it's not, what about?
Right.
When they're wrong, they can't move on. They They can't handle being wrong.
Right. And first of all, we want to acknowledge the Trail of Tears was a horrific and shameful chapter in American history. But again, they are trying to paint everything with a broad brush. And as he said, the total Cherokee population at that time was under 20,000. So millions didn't even exist to be killed. And as they corrected her, it was between 4,000 to 6,000 that died, and mostly due to disease, exposure, and starvation was what it was done. So these inflated numbers are meant to weaponize history. Not only is she an idiot, but she's doing this purposely to weaponize for political narratives that she doesn't want to tell the truth about. That's what it is. And again, they're trying to create emotion over evidence is what it is. This is their playbook. They did the same thing with climate hysteria, COVID death stats, slavery reparations, inflate numbers to guilt the public and justify radical policies. This is what they do.
It is.
Yeah. So we will continue to follow this. I just had to get her. When I saw that clip of her again, I mean, she pops up like a pimple. I told you all. She pops up like a pimple all over the internet whenever there's some type of conversation about race, about gender, about just gender ideology and all this type of stuff. She pops up, and some conservative pops her right off of the face of the map, and then she comes back again. It's almost like a menstrual period. When the menstrual comes, here she comes as the pimple. So yeah.
I'm never gonna think of it the same again. I said Laura Pimple Popper. We need to call KJ the new Dr. Pimple Popper. I think this whole back and forth and watching all those clips, the truth is bad enough. And that's what the left doesn't understand. And that's what evil people or demonic entities or people that's what they don't understand. When the truth is bad enough, use the truth. But it's not even enough. They have to go on the lie, and then they build on the lies, and they feed off the lies. They get bigger and bigger, and that there's no way to get back. And we're seeing this with this whole unraveling of the Biden administration. And he was fine and healthy, and nobody knew. And now you see everybody backtracking. They don't know how to cover up. They lied so much they can't get back to the truth. And I'm just going to call us as Christians. We just need to know the truth and stick to the truth. Right. We don't need to make up facts. Facts is Christ. The facts are God said. You need to know the word. Know the facts. Stick to the truth. And we win. The reason why Donald Trump is in office is because we voted for a man based on the truth. We knew what was right. Right was right. Wrong was wrong. We could see things for our own eyes. That's all we needed. We didn't need all the other bells, whistles, concerts, and lies. And with I don't even know her name.
I know. I couldn't find her name. I'm sure she's on Jubilee a lot. So these people don't even have jobs, I don't think. They don't even work.
Antagonizing. That's their job. Clickbait. That's their job.
Yeah, you're right, Michelle.
Lying is their job.
Exactly. And we're using this time, get your popcorn out, because we're showing you clips of these leftists getting their lunch ate. Here's another one. This is Michael Knowles destroying this leftist with facts. This is clip 4. This guy, oh my God, I laughed so hard at that. He was the first time Michael asked him about it, he does this stupid thing like kids do when they're done something wrong or they don't know the answer in class. He did this. Like, what are you looking at? I'm right here, bro. And then after he brought up the whole thing about the Mayans, he tries to make it seem like Michael brought it up.
Yeah.
So what did you think of that?
Over and over. I was dying when from the get when he said, I'm talking about procreating. You don't procreate with multiple people. It's one man and it's one woman specifically to have the baby. Right? It is just ridiculous. And you're right. He was squirming. He was trying to come up with things. And I just think of a kid who's doing this and they don't like the answers. And then he's got all the co-signers in the circle. This is why I have a hard time watching these clips. Because you got people snapping in the back like, oh, that was a great comeback. And it was the dumbest comeback I've ever heard. It wasn't even a comeback. There's nothing to come back from. He's dumb. And to bring up a culture he clearly knows nothing about, to talk about communal and everybody's every gender, and they don't recognize gender. 1,000 years ago, 100 years ago, in fact 50 years ago, we recognized that there were men and women. That was the end. It's only now that a bunch of people are confused, and really only in a few nations.
Right, exactly. And this is what they want. They want confusion. They create all these new definitions, all these new terms, and it's just plain and simple as Michael Knowles broke it down. We need one man and one woman to procreate. And again, traditional marriage is simple as well. Not this communal Marxist crap that he was talking about. Marriage is a covenant, not a convenience. It creates a secure environment for children rooted in commitment and structure. It's not hard. It gets difficult and confused when you start talking about all this communal living, because it introduces rotating adults, blurred roles, and instability, otherwise known as chaos. This is what it is. And this is what the left does. They want to confuse us all.
Yeah. And they just don't understand also, they're forever taking out of context the idea of it takes a village. They want to take that it takes a village to mean it can be all kinds of parents. They somehow, in the most disgusting, twisted way, make it about transgender and open marriage and everything else. It's like, no, it means that people had specific roles. There were women there that would help raise, teachers. It just means community, the same as we're supposed to have community, not this village where it means anybody, any freaky thing can happen and all the kids get exposed to it. And you're never really a parent. Right. It's a village, and they use that in the education system. I've heard teachers teachers unions use this argument. Well, it takes a village. It takes a village. So I'm really in charge of this village. No, ma'am, no, sir. I'm the parent. You are not. You're a part of a village. I'm letting them visit. Those children are mine. Right. And so they just use this any kind of way. But he was struggling for real. Don't bring up something. Don't start nothing, won't be nothing. He brought up something when he went back to the Mayan. Don't start no stuff, won't be no stuff. That's what he did. He started it and he ended it. Exactly. And as I mentioned, this whole communal living, it comes straight out of the Karl Marx playbook. In the Communist Manifesto, Marx openly called for the abolition of the family and the end of private property, two pillars that traditional societies depend on. So this whole idea of communal living follows the model by erasing family roles, dissolving ownership, and replacing it with collective care. The goal is to destroy the nuclear family. It's plain and simple. And like you mentioned, it's not the same as community. They want a committee. That's what they want. They want a committee. As we know, the Bible says in Genesis 2, a man shall leave his father and mother and be joined to his wife. Yep. Okay. It is very clear. It is very simple. Communal living often sidelines marriage altogether, and it replaces God's order with man-made ideologies. And again, this crap is rooted in Marxism and radical feminism. So it is man-made and satanic from its roots. Right. Demonic exactly. From its roots. Exactly. Yeah. So, folks, we wanted to bring you these videos showing these leftists getting their lunch ate. All right. And so this is what we did here. We have another one here. I actually forgot to play this. I wanted to play this in response to Miss Pimple, Human Pimple, and her idea about how, she's demonizing white people. We're supposed to hate white people. They're the oppressors. We're the oppressed. We're the victims. And one thing they leave out a lot of times, the left, is how in much of American history, there were white people working alongside Black folk in the civil rights era, in movement, in the anti-racism movement. And this is a clip that talks about it. This is clip 7.
I said, name 5 white people in American history who fought against racism and slavery. And I want y'all to think about that, because have there been 5 people? Yes. Way more than 5. Thousands. And I would ask you as a follow-up question, why can't you name them then? Because if we are to live in a society that is supposed to be anti-racist, meaning something that we create that benefits all people, not someone more than others, then we should know about people who've been fighting for years and years and years. We should know about Reverend Bruce Clunder, who was a white guy who was protesting school segregation in Ohio, and Ohio is considered the North. He laid his body down in front of a bulldozer in the 1960s to protest school segregation and died. We should probably know about Ann McCarty Braden, who organized with Rosa Parks, and she helped organize white Southerners to join the civil rights movement and to go against redlining, which was systemic ghettoization. She bought a house in her name for a black couple who could not buy a home in the neighborhood they wanted to go to. It's a lot of people. Reverend James Reeb, who marched with Dr. King. We don't often talk about John Brown, is probably the most infamous one. But even beyond him, there are so many other folks, even during the period of enslavement. What that means is we can never say they were a product of their time. Not necessarily. They were a product of peer pressure. Think about it that way. Because we know deep down inside when something is right or wrong. General Lee in the Confederate Army, he has a descendant, Robert E. Lee. He has a descendant right now who's a pastor, white guy, who's anti-racist.
There it is. Why don't we hear about this stuff more often, Miss Michelle?
Oh, this is a plot from the beginning. There is no twist. There is no plot twist. We know that there are organizations that are in charge of creating books, and the books get approved, and the books go to the schools, and that's what they teach. And it's always going to be limited, and it's always going to be filtered. Now, you can fill in the blank, whether it's filtered to always highlight Black, white, and to some extent, Native Americans. And I'm going to, I'm looking at our history books because I get them and I filter them when I'm deciding what to teach my kids and what to have at my centers or my communities for homeschooling. But it's on purpose. It's on purpose because we can't have people highlighting what they have conceived to be the oppressor. You can't have the good stories. And what's interesting is when they talk about the Civil War, there would be no Civil War if white people and others didn't decide to fight it.
Mm-hmm.
How many Black armies were there that defeated any? This is nonsense. It's basic. It is a rewriting of history. It is always going to be intentional. It's always going to be to divide. It's never going to be to highlight the good on any side. Really, we should highlight it, but it's going to continue to happen.
And guess what? Most of the most of the people that helped you, where we find the most unity, where whites and Blacks worked alongside each other in the fight for civil rights and against against racism, was in the Christian community. Mm-hmm. In the Christian community, it was white Christians that helped run the Underground Railroad. Yeah. It was white pastors, farmers. We know about Quaker, right? The Quakers opened their homes to help enslaved people escape to freedom. This was, again, people were coming together under the idea, the notion that we are all created by God with our God-given rights, and we are united under the blood of Christ.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah. But now you have preachers and pastors in the Black church, like Jamal Bryant and other like Al Sharpton, who preach such division, such hatred of white people. And it didn't used to be that way.
No.
It's sad. It really is. It's really sad, and it's not biblical. It's not Bible. It has nothing to do with what we know to be the God of daughters and sons of the kingdom.
Yeah,
it has nothing to do with it.
And it's never actually about even slavery. Really, if you think about what they're arguing, they just want a hatred for hatred's sake, because none of those pastors, and I don't care what their color are, white, black, the churches that are, none of them right now are standing up for all of the enslaved children, all of the children and women that were trafficked by the hundreds of thousands.
Right.
And they're just sitting here in the United States of America right this second. And we're not talking about that. Because again, it's not about this good versus evil. They just have to keep up this narrative. And the enemy is great at distracting.
And talk about what we were talking about at the top of the show. The Jewish community was right there with us too. There were Jewish civil rights workers. Andrew Goodman and Michael Schwerner were murdered alongside James Chaney in Mississippi in 1964. I myself remember how my mom used to talk about here in Baltimore, how her mom, my grandmother, and my grandfather, who were pastors, had close ties with the Jewish community, with rabbis, who had stores all through Baltimore and surrounding areas, and they would connect and do things together. It's always been, it was like that for so many years. It's not about skin color. It's about values. It's about common morality and things like that. We got to get away from them. We cannot let them continue to push this idea of black versus white, of this whole gender ideology crap. We got to get away from it. The only thing I can think of is to unite under the blood of Jesus.
Kingdom.
Okay.
It should be kingdom versus kingdom. This is the kingdom of God faces and versus the kingdom of Satan, dominion and power that Satan is holding and reigns supreme. And we know he still runs around, and some people say like a roaring lion. Yeah, but he's got a lot of other people that are doing more than roaring on his behalf because they listened. That's what we have to combat. We have to combat that kingdom as Christians. And then we won't see, it'll be like my house. So it's really hard for us to see color. I mean, I call some of my kids pale, but that's just because, they burn.
But we can see color. I mean, it's all right to see color because, we're not blind or anything. But, again.
And we talked about that last week when I talked about culture. It's all right to have your culture.
Right.
It's all right to see it. But in the end, you cannot enforce that or impose that on Christianity, on the Bible. And that's where we're at. And this narrative of black and white, every time you hear it, everybody, we need to just stop it and say, look, no, I'm not going to make this a black and white issue. Because again, what would Jesus do? So what, are you a Christian? I'm going to start asking people, so do you believe in Christ?
Right.
Okay, so then let's just focus. Let's take God's perspective on this argument. That will end a lot of arguments.
Exactly.
They don't want to talk about Jesus. If they are God-fearing or claim to be Christian, even in these churches, I'm like, okay, well, let's talk about Christ then.
Right. Because guess what? We all have equal dignity under God and the Constitution. If you really want to get down to it, we're equal dignity under God and the Constitution. And that can combat this woke mob and what they're preaching, this equity over equality, resentment over reconciliation. That combats all that crap. And we as conservatives, Christian conservatives, must reclaim this truth. We must. Yeah. So there it is. We are running out of time. I wanted to get into this Letitia James stuff just really quickly, guys. I want to talk about this Letitia James. This is your popcorn night, folks, because we are talking about all the things we just finished talking about how these leftists are really getting destroyed by conservatives with the facts, with truth. And we played you a couple clips. I love to watch those types of clips. And this one is good too. Letitia James. Oh my gosh. New York AG Letitia James is in a video stumbling through her scandal. And folks, it's not looking good. After going after President Trump for alleged fraud, she's now accused of mortgage fraud herself. And get this, she claims she mistakenly filled out the forms incorrectly. Okay. And so in this bizarre press conference she recently had, she was so rattled. She was stuttering. She was defensive. She was flat out confused, trying to downplay falsified information that will land the average American behind bars. Take a look. This is clip 2.
As you know, we filed a lawsuit against Donald Trump and his family. We secured $454 million judgment against him, which is on appeal. The case is on appeal. I have no idea when that case will be decided. This investigation into me is nothing more than retribution. It's baseless. It has to do with the fact that on a power of attorney, I mistakenly indicated that I was a state of Virginia, but prior to that, I had indicated to the mortgage broker that in fact, in bold cap letters, that I am not a resident of Virginia and never will be. And in the mortgage application, I indicated that I would not live in Virginia and I was not a resident. They just took the power of attorney and they're using that as a basis for enforcement for their investigation, when in reality, the power of attorney was never used to determine my eligibility for a mortgage for my niece for a home in the state of Virginia. My niece who has children, and because I am a good aunt, I wanted her to have a home.
Porky Pig. All I could think of is that's all, folks. That's who we're gonna be.
That is what the sound. That's the sound of a split tongue lying. Oh, don't you know? That's the sound.
The roosters have come home to roost, and I'm here for every second of it. That's the popcorn, and we're watching it every single day. Oh my gosh.
Sister girl is scared. She is scared. Okay.
She's an attorney. You don't accidentally say your dad is your husband. There's no accident. And she's relying on this fictional character as if a power of attorney is a entity in itself. I'm like, was there a person who had power of attorney? Who was said person? Was it you? There was no power of attorney that did all the work on our behalf without her saying so. We know how this all works. She has an even higher standard in legal documents than any of us. How is this even going to fly? It is not. I foresee Trump's. That's going to be overturned. It is going to come crashing down on her. She's scared to death. She should be. This is when we don't have to do anything. God said, here's who I'm putting in power. Thus saith the Lord. We're just sitting back and watching the Lord literally work.
Right. It's what God said. He will make your enemies your footstools. So, and folks, as you guys are coming in, please hit that like button. If you think she needs to be investigated, hit that like button and subscribe, folks. Please subscribe. Oh my gosh. When I saw this, I almost spit out my food. I mean, she was so nervous. And you heard what she said. First of all we need to do is pull the original loan application, plain and simple. If there was a power of attorney, it has to be verified and notarized.
Yep.
So no competent attorney is that sloppy. So now Letitia wants us to believe this document, but not that one. Which is it? She's basically saying, believe your eyes, except when it makes me look guilty. That's pretty much what she's doing.
And she also has issues with the state. Evie's talking about here. She's trying to be a good aunt. One house is for her niece. One house is her dad's. One is she can't keep her story straight. She know what she did. The jig is up. It's done. She's cooked. Yep. And I love it. She went out there, and I love how the only thing she could do is, I got Trump though. Remember, guys, I got him. That's going to be overturned. Oh, great.
Yeah. It is, and I can't wait.
Maybe she's going to use auto pen. Maybe she's going to claim the auto pen did it.
I know.
I'm going to do the Biden administration. It was the auto pen.
Yeah. And that's being revealed too. President Trump came out this week and said that he wants that all investigated as it should. As far as what we're knowing now, we got to get this stuff out. I want it all to be revealed. Mm-hmm. Reveal it. Evergreen 101 says, does KJ still have her other channel too? Yes. So we have two channels here on the Metro Conservative Media Network. So this is Christian Conservative. And then I'll be on tomorrow with Poppin' Politics. Yep, there it is. So we still have Poppin' Politics. We'll be on there tomorrow, counting down all of the latest in news and pop culture. And then on Saturday, you can catch Just the Guys. Now, I'm not there, but that's also our brother station, where you can get a male perspective on Saturday at 6:30. It's at Just the Guys podcast. So that's a great podcast to watch as well. And then Tuesdays, we also have the All American Talk. So that's at All American Talk, another great conservative channel you guys need to check out. But then if you want me, if you're not tired of seeing me, I'm here every Thursday and Sunday. Me and Michelle, we are here on Christian Conservative. Please subscribe. It's a fairly new channel. We are really trying to build this up. But you get your biblical conservative news and analysis here. This is where we, pretty much as we've been doing, expose the lies, defend our values, and fight for the truth in a world that desperately needs it. So please subscribe and hit that like button. First, certainly, if you hit the like button, it helps to get this video out to more people so they can see it on YouTube. So we are at the end of our time tonight. Michelle, what's in some final words for the audience?
Again, I got to give it to you with no one is above the law. And Letitia and everybody would always say that no one is above the law. And they were referring, of course, to President Trump. No one is above the law. The law will catch up, but I'm going to take it further. As Christian conservative, no one is above God's law. No one. Every knee will bow. A time will come where every knee will bow and every tongue will confess.
Yeah.
And I think that this gives us that same perspective. The time is coming, and it's amping up, it's ramping up every single day, every single second. We're getting closer. And so we just kind of need to reflect on what we're doing in our personal lives, how we're viewing things, how we're praying, how we're taking care of people, and how we're calling out wrong as wrong, evil as evil.
That's
because
right.
God is above us. God is above it all. There will be judgment. So I'm trying to do my best right now while I have this time on earth, not to face it here and focus on the truth, focus on my family, and again, help others out there.
Yep, absolutely, Michelle. Folks, thank you guys so much. We love our chat. Thank you all for your chats and super chats. Thank you to the moderators, Angie, Allie, and Coaster. Thank you so much. We certainly appreciate you. Again, Pop and Politics will be back tomorrow night at 9 p.m. Friday nights are crazy on Pop and Politics. You do not want to miss it. We generally have a huge live show at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Catch us on Pop and Politics tomorrow night, Friday. Let me see. Evie says, since no one is above the law, then she should want to be investigated the same way she called for Trump to be investigated. Absolutely correct, Evie. So good we had to say it twice. Evie. That's 4 times we've said it. Absolutely. Yes, indeed. I agree there. All right. Evergreen, you ladies are great. Praying your channel grows. Oh, thank you so much. Thank you. We really appreciate it. God bless you all. We will catch you on Sunday night. Christian Conservative will be back Sunday night at 9 p.m. Again, tomorrow, Friday night, I'll be back on Pop and Politics at 9 p.m. But we, Christian Conservative, will be back 9 p.m. Sunday night. We will see you. Until next time, wishing you warm days and starry nights. Good night.